Listen, honey, this isn't welfare housing. You can't afford to breathe our air. Derek Williams smirks as he slides Laura's platinum card back across the marble counter without even swiping it. His eyes rake over her with open disgust. Let me guess. Stolen card? Fake reservation? He waves her confirmation papers like trash. We get your type trying this scam every week. Laura's jaw tightens. Her fingers curl slightly. But she says nothing. Just watch. Just remember. Security, Derek barks into his radio. Code black at reception. Literally. He chuckles at his own racist joke. Aggressive panhandler harassing guests. Other patrons gasp. Phones rise. Derek performs for his audience. Ma'am, I'm being generous, giving you 30 seconds before I call the police. Don't make me drag you out in handcuffs. Laura finally speaks. Her voice is ice. Make the call. Derek reaches for the phone with theatrical satisfaction. 911? Dangerous black female threatening guests and staff? Derek thinks this is the end of his problem. He has no idea it's the beginning of his nightmare. And Laura Owen is about to show him exactly how expensive his mistake will be. 3 hours earlier, Laura Owen sits in her corner office on the 40th floor of Owen Tower. Seattle's skyline spreads beneath her like a chessboard. She reviews acquisition files with the methodical precision that built her family's empire. The Owen name carries weight in this city: real estate, development, power that spans 3 generations. But Laura learned early that respect isn't inherited, it's earned. Her assistant knocks softly. Miss Owen, the Wellington Hotel assessment is scheduled for tonight. Laura nods without looking up. The Grand Wellington represents more than just another acquisition. It's the crown jewel of Seattle's hospitality sector, historic, profitable, and completely unaware that Owen Real Estate has been circling for months. She closes the file marked Wellington Group, Confidential Acquisition. The numbers are staggering. $200 million for a property that nets $30 million annually. But the Owen family doesn't just buy buildings, they buy legacy. I'll conduct the final inspection personally, Laura tells her assistant. Unannounced. This is how the Owen family operates. No fanfare, no advance warning. Laura learned this from her father, who learned it from his father before him. You see a property's true character only when they don't know you're watching. Her phone buzzes. Robert Owen, her father, checking in from his estate in Bellevue. The Wellington deal closes Friday, his text reads. Board approval is unanimous. Just need your final assessment. Laura smiles. After 6 months of negotiations, they're 48 hours from owning Seattle's most prestigious hotel. The sellers believe they're getting a premium price for a struggling property. They don't know that Laura's team has already identified $50 million in operational improvements. She packs her briefcase carefully. Corporate identification, business cards that don't mention Owen Real Estate. Tonight, she's just another guest evaluating service quality. The irony amuses her. In 2 days, she'll own every marble tile in the Wellington lobby. Tonight, she'll see how they treat someone they think doesn't belong. Laura changes into business attire that signals success without screaming wealth. Conservative blazer, professional briefcase, the kind of understated elegance that old money prefers. Her driver waits downstairs, 20 minutes through evening traffic to the Grand Wellington. She reviews the hotel's staff files during the ride. Night manager Derek Williams shows concerning patterns, multiple guest complaints, questionable judgment calls, the kind of liability that costs hotels their reputation. Miss Owen, her driver says as they approach the hotel. Shall I wait? No need. Laura steps onto the sidewalk. This shouldn't take long. The Grand Wellington's facade gleams under spotlights, marble columns, brass fixtures, everything designed to intimidate and impress. Laura remembers visiting here as a child with her father. Even then, she dreamed of owning places like this. She approaches the entrance with practiced confidence. Tonight's assessment will determine whether they keep existing management or clean house entirely. Derek Williams doesn't know it, but he's about to audition for his own job. Laura's phone shows 9:28 p.m. The deal closes at 10 a.m. Friday, 72 hours until ownership transfers. But first, she needs to understand what she's buying. She pushes through the brass doors into the marble lobby. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over leather furniture and fresh orchids. Everything is perfect except for one detail. The man behind the reception desk looks at her like she doesn't belong. Laura Owen smiles slightly. This is about to become very interesting. Laura approaches the reception desk with her usual professional stride. Her heels click against marble with quiet authority. The reservation confirmation rests in her briefcase alongside documents that could change everything. Derek Williams glances up from his computer screen. His expression shifts immediately. Eyes narrow, posture stiffens. 20 years in hospitality should have taught him better. "Good evening," Laura says, placing her corporate credit card on the counter. "I have a reservation under Owen." Derek's fingers hover over his keyboard but don't type. His eyes scan Laura from head to toe with unconcealed skepticism. The gold card sits ignored between them. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I'm not seeing anything under that name." He doesn't even check his system. Laura maintains perfect composure. "Perhaps you could look again? The confirmation number is WG 47,891. "Ma'am, I really don't think—" Derek stops himself, then continues with practiced condescension. "Are you sure you have the right hotel? We're a premium establishment." The lobby falls quiet. Other guests sense tension building. A businessman in Armani slows his stride. A couple near the elevator exchanges glances. "I'm quite certain," Laura replies evenly. "Platinum corporate account, pre-authorized payment." Derek picks up her card with obvious reluctance. He doesn't swipe it. Instead, he holds it up to the light like a suspicious shop owner examining questionable currency. "These corporate cards," he says loud enough for nearby guests to hear. "We see a lot of irregularities, stolen accounts, identity theft. You understand?" Laura's jaw tightens imperceptibly. Her fingers curl slightly against the marble counter, but her voice remains calm, professional. "Perhaps you should run the card to verify." "Ma'am, I think there's been a misunderstanding." Derek's voice carries theatrical authority. "This establishment has certain standards, dress codes, behavioral expectations. We cater to a very specific clientele." The businessman stops walking entirely. His phone emerges subtly. Others follow suit. The lobby transforms into an amphitheater with Laura as the unwilling centerpiece. "I see," Laura says quietly. "And what specific standards am I failing to meet?" Derek's smile turns predatory. This is the moment he's been building toward, the performance he believes will impress his audience. "Listen, honey, this isn't welfare housing. You can't afford to breathe our air." The words hang in the marble air like poison. Several guests gasp audibly. Phones rise more openly now. The businessman hits a record. Derek slides Laura's platinum card back across the counter without even swiping it. His eyes rake over her with open disgust. "Let me guess. Stolen card? Fake reservation?" He waves her confirmation papers like trash. "We get your type trying this scam every week." Laura's composure cracks slightly. Her breathing deepens. Her fingers press harder against the marble, but she doesn't speak, doesn't defend. Just watch. Just remember. "Security!" Derek barks into his radio, performing for his growing audience. "Code black at reception, literally." He chuckles at his own racist joke. Several guests look appalled. Others pull out phones to record the escalating confrontation. "Ma'am, I'm being generous, giving you 30 seconds to leave before I call the police." Derek taps his fingers against the counter with theatrical impatience. "Don't make me drag you out in handcuffs." Laura finally speaks. Her voice cuts through the lobby like ice. "Make the call." Derek's eyes widened slightly. He expected tears, anger, submission, not this quiet challenge. "Excuse me?" "I said make the call." Laura's voice carries 3 generations of Owen authority. "I'd like this interaction documented officially." Derek reaches for the phone with theatrical satisfaction. He's playing to his audience now, the businessman, the couple, everyone who will validate his authority. 911, this is Derek Williams, night manager at the Grand Wellington Hotel. I need immediate police assistance. His voice projects across the lobby. Dangerous black female threatening guests and staff, refusing to leave, possibly armed. Laura stands perfectly still during the entire call. Her eyes never leave Derek's face. She's memorizing everything, every word, every gesture, every witness. Derek hangs up with obvious satisfaction. "Police will be here in 5 minutes, ma'am. I suggest you reconsider your position." Laura opens her briefcase slowly. Derek's confidence wavers slightly. He has no idea what's coming next. No idea that the woman he just humiliated holds documents that will destroy his world in exactly 7 minutes. The sirens announce themselves 3 blocks away. Derek Williams straightens his tie with satisfaction, playing to his captivated audience. The lobby has transformed into a theater of humiliation. "Hear that?" Derek announces to no one in particular. "Seattle PD doesn't mess around with trespassers." Laura Owen remains motionless at the marble counter. Her briefcase sits closed beside her. Her platinum card lies ignored where Derek threw it. She watches everything with the calm intensity of someone taking inventory. The businessman near the elevator openly records now. His Armani suit can't hide his fascination with the unfolding drama. A couple in the evening wear whispers behind manicured hands. 3 other guests have migrated closer, drawn by the spectacle of authority confronting perceived transgression. "Ma'am," Derek continues his performance, "this really didn't have to escalate. We pride ourselves on handling these situations quietly, professionally." Laura's silence unnerves him. He expected tears by now, pleading, some acknowledgement of his power over her situation. Instead, she studies him like a scientist examining an interesting specimen. The sirens grow louder. Derek's radio crackles. "Unit 247 responding to Wellington. ETA is 2 minutes. Copy that?" Derek responds importantly. "The suspect is still on the premises, non-compliant." Several guests shift uncomfortably. The word suspect lands like a slap across the marble lobby. Laura tilts her head slightly as if filing the terminology away for future reference. The brass doors burst open. 2 officers enter with the measured urgency of professionals responding to a potential threat. Officer James Miller leads, his partner trailing slightly behind. Miller's eyes scan the lobby quickly. Businessman with phone, dressed couple watching. Well-appointed woman at the reception desk looked remarkably calm for someone supposedly causing trouble. "Seattle PD," Miller announces. "We received a report of trespassing and threats." Derek steps forward eagerly. "Officers, thank God you're here. This woman has been harassing guests and staff for 20 minutes. Refuses to leave, won't take no for an answer." Miller approaches Laura carefully. His training screams caution, but nothing about this situation matches the emergency call description. "Ma'am, could I see some identification, please?" Laura reaches into her briefcase with deliberate slowness. Derek's eyes widened. His radio call mentioned possibly armed. His breathing quickens. She produces a Washington State driver's license and hands it to Miller with perfect composure. Miller examines the ID carefully. "Laura Elizabeth Owen, Seattle address." He looks up. "Ma'am, the manager says you don't have a reservation here." "I do," Laura replies simply. She produces her confirmation papers and corporate cards. Both confirmed reservation and pre-authorized payment. Miller accepts the documents. Derek interjects quickly. "Officer, those are obviously fraudulent. We see this scam constantly. Stolen cards, fake confirmations. She's targeting our establishment specifically." Miller's partner activates his body camera, standard procedure for any potentially volatile situation. The red recording light begins blinking steadily. "Sir," Miller addresses Derek, "have you actually processed her payment method to verify legitimacy?" Derek's confidence falters slightly. "Well, no, but why not?" The question hangs in the air like an accusation. Derek glances at his audience, seeking support. The businessman's camera captures everything. The couple exchanges meaningful looks. "Because clearly she doesn't belong here," Derek says, his voice rising defensively. "Look at her. This isn't her kind of establishment." Miller's expression hardens. 20 years of police work taught him to recognize many things, including discrimination when it's performed for an audience. "What exactly do you mean by her kind, sir?" Derek realizes his mistake too late. The body camera records everything. The businessman's phone captures it all. His performance has become evidence against him. "I mean, people who can't afford our services." Derek backpedals desperately. "This is a 5-star establishment. We have standards." Miller turns to Laura. "Ma'am, could you explain what happened here tonight?" Laura's voice carries 3 generations of Owen's composure. "I attempted to check into a confirmed reservation using a valid corporate credit card. The manager refused service without verification. He then called the police claiming I threatened guests and staff." "Did you threaten anyone?" I asked him to run my credit card. When he refused, I requested he document his decision officially. Miller looks at Derek. Is there a specific hotel policy against processing payment methods for verification? Derek's face reddens. His audience watches his authority crumble in real time. Well, no, but sometimes you just know. Know what, sir? The lobby falls completely silent. Even the subtle background music seems to pause. Derek realizes he's standing on quicksand, sinking with every word. Miller hands Laura's documents back to her. Ma'am, everything appears to be in order. Your identification matches your reservation. Your corporate card shows active status. He turns to Derek. Sir, I'm going to need you to process this guest's check-in according to standard hotel procedure. Derek's hands shake slightly as he reaches for Laura's credit card. His performance has collapsed, his authority evaporated. The businessman's phone captures every moment of his humiliation. Of course, officer, Derek mumbles. Just following protocol. Laura watches Derek's fingers fumble with her card. She opens her briefcase again, retrieving a small recording device. For my corporate report, she explains to Miller, standard procedure when evaluating service quality. Derek's eyes focus on the device with growing horror. Laura has been documenting everything, every insult, every racial slur, every moment of his theatrical bigotry. But Derek still doesn't understand what's really happening. He thinks this is about a hotel reservation. Laura knows it's about ownership, and she's about to teach him the difference. Derek's hands tremble as he swipes Laura's corporate card through the payment terminal. The machine responds immediately with a cheerful beep. Account verified. Payment approved. Premium status confirmed. His face drains of color. The businessman's camera captures every moment of his dawning realization. There seems to be a processing delay. Derek lies, staring at the successful transaction screen. Corporate cards sometimes take longer to... The payment went through, Officer Miller observes dryly. I can see the approval code from here. Laura retrieves her phone with practiced calm. Her fingers move across the screen with the efficiency of someone accustomed to making important calls under pressure. Sarah, it's Laura, she says into the device. Her voice carries a new authority that makes Derek's stomach clench. I need you to document a situation at the Wellington property. Derek's eyes widened. Wellington property, not Wellington Hotel. Property. The terminology suggests ownership, control, something far beyond a simple guest complaint. Yes, I'm here now conducting the final assessment, Laura continues. We may need to accelerate our timeline given what I've witnessed tonight. Miller's partner exchanges glances with him. Final assessment, timeline, the language of corporate acquisition, not customer service disputes. Derek leans forward, straining to hear more of the conversation. His racist performance has transformed into professional suicide, but he doesn't understand how deep the grave he's dug really goes. Full documentation, Laura says into her phone. Multiple witnesses, police body camera footage, everything admissible in employment termination proceedings. Employment termination. Derek's knees weaken. How does a random guest know employment law terminology? How does she speak with the casual authority of someone who's fired people before? Laura ends the call and turns to Miller. Officer, could I get your badge numbers for my corporate report? My legal team will need complete documentation. Legal team? Miller asks. Standard procedure when evaluating acquisition targets, Laura explains matter-of-factly. Due diligence requires comprehensive service assessment. Acquisition targets. The words hit Derek like physical blows. The lobby suddenly feels smaller, airless. His audience of guests watches his world collapse in real time. Ma'am, Miller asks carefully, are you affiliated with Wellington Group Management? Laura's smile contains 3 generations of Owen Steele. Not with current management, no. Derek's radio crackles. His supervisor's voice sounds strained, urgent. Derek, we need you in the office immediately. Corporate is on line 1. Something about an emergency board meeting. Emergency board meeting at 10:15 p.m. on a Tuesday. Derek's hands shake as he reaches for the radio. I'm handling a situation at reception, he stammers. Handle it faster, his supervisor snaps. The owners are asking questions about tonight's incident. Apparently someone with serious legal representation is demanding answers. Laura tilts her head slightly as if listening to something amusing. Her briefcase rests open beside her, revealing documents marked confidential and acquisition final phase. Derek stares at the papers with growing horror. Corporate letterhead he doesn't recognize. Legal language he can't understand. Numbers that suggest enormous financial transactions. "Officer Miller," Laura says pleasantly, "I believe we can conclude our interaction here." The manager seems eager to speak with his superiors. Miller nods slowly. "Ma'am, if you need any additional assistance, that won't be necessary." Laura's voice carries quiet finality. "I suspect Mr. Williams and I will be having much more extensive conversations very soon." Derek backs away from the counter involuntarily. Something in Laura's tone suggests power he never imagined, authority that makes his theatrical performance look like amateur theater. "Ma'am," Derek whispers, "who exactly are you?" Laura closes her briefcase with deliberate precision. Her smile reveals nothing and everything. "Mr. Williams, that's the wrong question." Her voice cuts through the marble lobby like a verdict. "The right question is, who do you think owns this building?" Derek's world tilts on its axis. Ownership. The Wellington Hotel belongs to Wellington Group, which belongs to... He suddenly realizes he doesn't actually know who owns the company that employs him. Laura turns toward the elevator with the confidence of someone who belongs everywhere she chooses to go. "I'll be in the penthouse suite reviewing operational files. Please ensure housekeeping prepares the conference room for tomorrow's management meeting." She steps into the elevator, leaving Derek staring at the closing doors with the slow dawning realization that his nightmare has only just begun. The penthouse elevator ascends through 30 floors of Seattle's most exclusive real estate. Laura Owen stands perfectly centered in the marble-lined car, her reflection multiplied in polished surfaces. The hotel's operational files wait in the suite above, but she already knows what they'll reveal. Her phone buzzes. Sarah Mitchell, Owen Real Estate's senior legal counsel. "Laura, I've been monitoring police scanners. Body camera footage from tonight's incident is already being processed for evidence review." "Good," Laura replies as the elevator doors open into opulent luxury. "What about our Wellington timeline?" "Accelerating. The board wants immediate action after tonight's discrimination incident. Your father is furious." Laura steps into the penthouse suite where her father conducted final negotiations just weeks ago. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcase Seattle's glittering skyline. Tomorrow, this view will belong to the Owen family completely. She opens her briefcase on the marble conference table. Corporate acquisition documents spill across the surface like battle plans. Wellington Group financial records, staff performance reviews, and most damning of all, Derek Williams' disciplinary history. "Sarah, pull everything we have on the night manager, full background." Already done. Derek Williams, 38, employed at Wellington for 6 years. Multiple discrimination complaints filed with HR. Settlement payments to 3 former guests. 2 harassment lawsuits settled out of court. Laura spreads Derek's file across the table. The pattern emerges immediately. Complaint after complaint. A young black woman was denied service in the restaurant. Latino families questioned about their ability to pay. Asian businessman subjected to additional identity verification. Wellington Group has been covering for him, Laura realizes, buying silence instead of addressing the problem. Gets worse, Sarah continues. He's not alone. I'm seeing similar patterns across 4 other properties in their chain. Systematic discrimination disguised as security protocols. Laura photographs each document with methodical precision. Tomorrow's acquisition meeting will require comprehensive evidence. The Owen family doesn't just buy properties, they clean the house completely. Her laptop connects to the hotel's internal server using credentials provided during due diligence. Wellington Group's digital records spread across her screen like an open book. The customer complaint database shows hundreds of incidents, most marked resolved without any actual resolution. Guest reviews mentioning racist treatment buried in legal settlements. Corporate culture rotted from the inside. Sarah, I need you to contact every guest who filed discrimination complaints in the past 5 years. We're offering full legal support for anyone willing to testify. How many are we talking about? Laura scrolls through the database with growing disgust. 43 documented cases, probably twice that number who never reported formally. Her phone rings. Robert Owen calling from his Bellevue estate. Laura, I just spoke with our board. What happened tonight? Textbook racial discrimination performed for an audience, Laura replies grimly. Multiple witnesses. Police body camera footage. The manager literally called me dangerous for being black in his lobby. Robert Owen's voice hardens with 3 generations of business authority. Unacceptable. I want immediate termination for every manager involved. It's bigger than one manager, Dad. This is institutional. Corporate policy disguised as individual bias. Laura opens Wellington Group's internal training manuals. The language is carefully coded but unmistakable. Guest screening protocols that target minority customers. Security awareness training that profiles by race and ethnicity. They've been training staff to discriminate, she tells her father. Look at Section 12 of their operations manual. She photographs the relevant pages. Euphemistic language that would make corporate lawyers proud. Elevated scrutiny for non-traditional clientele. Enhanced verification procedures for unfamiliar demographic segments. Jesus Christ, Robert mutters. We're buying a legal liability nightmare. No, Laura corrects. We're buying an opportunity to fix something that should have been fixed years ago. Her laptop chimes with incoming security footage from tonight's incident. Derek's performance plays in high definition. His racist commentary, his theatrical humiliation tactics, his obvious pleasure in exercising perceived authority over someone he considered inferior. But the footage reveals something else. Other staff members watched approvingly, guests recording with obvious entertainment rather than outrage, a culture that normalized discrimination as acceptable behavior. Laura's phone buzzes with text messages from Sarah. The first discrimination victim agreed to testify. Sandra Martinez denied hotel restaurant service last year because her kind didn't belong in fine dining. Another message follows immediately. James Patterson, black businessman forced to provide 3 forms of ID for room service. White guests in the same situation required none. Then another. Kim Carter, Asian woman accused of prostitution when seen speaking with white male guest in the lobby. The pattern emerges like a disease diagnosis. Systematic, institutional. Corporate policy implemented through individual bigotry. Laura opens Wellington Group's financial records. The numbers tell a devastating story. Lawsuit settlements totaling over $2 million in the past 3 years, insurance claims for discrimination incidents, legal fees for defending the indefensible. Sarah, run a full audit on their insurance coverage. I want to know exactly how much discrimination has cost them financially. Already in progress. Preliminary numbers suggest they're spending more on legal settlements than they would on proper diversity training and policy reform. Laura photographs Wellington's board meeting minutes from the past year. Discussion after discussion about managing perception issues and controlling narrative around service complaints. No mention of actually addressing the underlying discrimination. Her laptop displays Derek Williams' personnel file in full detail. 6 years of escalating incidents, complaints from guests, concerns from other staff members, warning after warning from HR departments that he ignored completely. And through it all, Wellington Group management protected him, promoted him, gave him authority over guest experiences while knowing exactly what he would do with that power. Laura's phone rings again. This time, it's her corporate security team. Miss Owen, we've identified 7 additional staff members with similar complaint patterns. The discrimination network extends beyond just the night manager. Document everything, Laura orders. Full background checks, employment records, any connection between staff members who've been involved in discriminatory incidents. She opens Wellington Group's employee handbook. The policies read beautifully on paper: anti-discrimination statements, diversity commitments, zero tolerance for bias-based treatment, pure corporate theater, words designed to protect the company legally while changing nothing operationally. Laura's investigation reveals the scope of Wellington Group's institutional failure. Not one racist manager, but an entire system that enabled, protected, and rewarded discriminatory behavior while maintaining legal, plausible deniability. Her phone buzzes with a message from the hotel's current general manager. Miss Owen, we need to schedule an urgent meeting regarding tonight's incident. Corporate is extremely concerned about potential legal exposure. Laura smiles grimly. Corporate concern about legal exposure. Not moral outrage about racist treatment. Not commitment to change, just fear of financial consequences. Tell the corporate that the meeting will happen tomorrow at 10 a.m., Laura responds. Full board attendance required. She doesn't mention that by 10 a.m. tomorrow, she'll own the company they're so desperately trying to protect. Laura closes her laptop and surveys the evidence spread across the conference table. Documentation of systematic racism, financial records proving institutional cover-ups, personal testimonies from dozens of victims. Tomorrow's acquisition meeting will deliver more than new ownership. It will deliver justice. Her phone shows 11:47 p.m. In 10 hours and 13 minutes, the Owen family will complete their purchase of Wellington Group. Derek Williams thinks he survived tonight's incident. He has no idea that his real reckoning starts at sunrise. Laura gathers the evidence files and heads toward the master bedroom. Tomorrow will be the most important day in Wellington Group's corporate history, and Derek Williams' last day as an employed manager. Laura Owen stands at the penthouse window overlooking Seattle's midnight skyline. The city spreads below her like a constellation of possibilities. In her hand, the phone that will change everything. She dials a number memorized since childhood. 3 rings, then the familiar voice of Richard Sterling, Owen Real Estate's chief financial officer. Laura, it's past midnight. What's the emergency? Richard, I need you to activate the Wellington acquisition, tonight. Silence. Then the sound of papers rustling as Richard moves to his home office. Tonight? Laura, the deal closes Friday morning. Everything's scheduled. Contracts are prepared. Plans change, Laura interrupts. I've documented systematic racial discrimination at their flagship property, multiple witnesses, police body camera footage. We're dealing with institutional liability that threatens the entire acquisition. Richard's voice sharpens with decades of corporate crisis management experience. How bad are we talking? The manager called 911 to have me arrested for being black in their lobby, performed racist theater for an audience of guests, all recorded on multiple devices. Jesus Christ, what's our exposure? Laura opens her briefcase and retrieves the acquisition contracts. Robert Owen's signature already authorizes emergency completion under specified circumstances. Tonight's discrimination incident qualifies perfectly. 0 exposure if we act immediately, Laura explains. Dad included Clause 47B for exactly this situation. Accelerated acquisition to protect against reputational liability. Richard's keyboard clicks frantically in the background. I'm pulling the Wellington files now. Emergency acquisition requires board approval within 6 hours of triggering the event. Then get the board on a conference call. It's 12:15 a.m. We have until 6:15 a.m. to complete. Laura, this isn't just paperwork. We're talking about $200 million in wire transfers, international banking protocols, legal documentation that normally takes weeks to process. Laura smiles grimly. The Owen family built their empire by moving faster than competitors could react. Tonight will be no exception. Richard, how long have we been planning this acquisition? 6 months of due diligence, complete financial analysis, legal review of every contract and liability. Then we're not rushing. We're executing a plan that's been ready for months. The discrimination incident just triggered our timeline. Richard's tone shifts to pure business efficiency. I'll need verification of the triggering event, official documentation that supports emergency acquisition. Laura connects her laptop to the penthouse's secure internet. Sending you the police incident report number 2024-1028-00947. Body camera footage will be available through Seattle PD evidence portal. Multiple witness recordings are being processed by our legal team. Received. I'm reviewing the incident report now. Richard's voice hardens as he reads Derek Williams' official statement. This is textbook racial discrimination, employment liability nightmare. Exactly. Which is why we need ownership transferred before market opening. Wellington Group's stock will crater when this goes public. Board conference call initiating now, Richard announces. Emergency acquisition authorization requires unanimous vote within 30 minutes. Laura's phone buzzes with incoming calls as Owen Real Estate's 7 board members join the emergency session. Her father's voice comes through clearly from his Bellevue estate. Laura, explain the situation to the full board. She recounts tonight's events with clinical precision. Derek's racist performance, police involvement, documentation of systematic discrimination patterns. The institutional liability that could cost Wellington Group hundreds of millions in lawsuits. Board member Margaret Carter speaks first. This isn't just about one manager. You're describing corporate culture that enabled racial discrimination for years. Correct, Laura confirms. My investigation revealed 43 documented discrimination complaints over 5 years, all covered up with settlement payments rather than policy changes. Board member James Peterson adds, our acquisition plan included comprehensive management restructuring. This accelerates our timeline but doesn't change our strategy. Motion to approve emergency acquisition, Robert Owen announces. All in favor? 7 voices confirm unanimous approval. Richard's fingers fly across his keyboard as banking protocols activate. Wire transfer instructions are being processed, Richard reports. International Banking Consortium is standing by for immediate funds transfer. Legal documentation is being prepared by our Seattle team. Laura watches the city lights twinkle below while her family's empire expands in real time. What's our completion timeline? Banking transfers will complete by 6 a.m. Legal documentation should be finished by 8 a.m. Official ownership transfer will be recorded with Washington State at 9 a.m. And Derek Williams? We'll wake up tomorrow morning as an employee of Owen Real Estate, Richard says with grim satisfaction, subject to immediate termination for cause. Laura's phone displays 12:47 a.m. In less than 9 hours, she'll walk back into the Wellington lobby as the owner rather than a guest. Derek Williams' racist performance will have cost him everything he thought he controlled. Richard, schedule an emergency management meeting for 10 a.m. in the Wellington conference room. Full senior staff attendance required. What should I tell them the meeting is about? Laura's reflection smiles back at her from the darkened window. Tell them they're meeting their new owner. She ends the call and returns to the conference table where evidence of Wellington Group's discrimination lies spread like a criminal case file. Tomorrow morning will bring justice. But first, Derek Williams deserves to spend his last night as a manager believing he won. In 8 hours and 13 minutes, he'll discover exactly how wrong he was. Laura's phone chimes at exactly 6 a.m. Richard Sterling's message appears with 3 words that change everything. Transfer complete. Congratulations. She stands at the penthouse window watching Seattle wake up below. Coffee shops opening, early commuters heading to work. A city beginning another ordinary day, unaware that the Grand Wellington just changed ownership. Her reflection shows a woman who transformed from victim to owner overnight. The discrimination meant to humiliate her has instead delivered complete control over her persecutors. Laura's phone rings. Sarah Mitchell from Owen Real Estate's legal department. It's official, Sarah announces. Wellington Group is now wholly owned by Owen Real Estate. All assets and personnel are under your direct authority as of 6:02 a.m. What's our legal position regarding last night? Ironclad. Derek Williams committed documented racial discrimination while employed by your company. Termination for cause is mandatory. Laura retrieves ownership documents from her briefcase. The woman Derek tried to humiliate now controls his paycheck, his benefits, his entire future. I want Derek Williams terminated immediately, effective when I enter that lobby. Already prepared. Termination paperwork cites racial discrimination and hostile work environment creation. Security will escort him out. Laura checks her watch. 6:15 a.m. Derek sleeps peacefully, dreaming of another day wielding authority over people he considers inferior. His world ended while he slept. Updates flood her phone, banking transfers confirmed, legal documentation filed, insurance policies transferred, every ownership detail completed with Owen precision. Laura dresses for her return to the Wellington lobby, same professional blazer, same briefcase Derek dismissed, same authority he mistook for inferiority. Now she carries ownership documents making her Derek's boss. At 7:30 a.m., Laura's driver arrives. 20 minutes to witness Derek discover his performance's consequences. Congratulations on the acquisition, Miss Owen, her driver says. This morning should be illuminating. Laura reviews Derek's file during the drive. 6 years employment, multiple discrimination complaints, racist behavior that previous management enabled and protected. That protection ends now. Her phone displays Owen Real Estate's press release. Publishing at 8 a.m., Owen Real Estate completes Wellington Hotel Group acquisition, announces immediate management restructuring and anti-discrimination initiatives. Derek will be unemployed before reading it. The car reaches Grand Wellington at 7:55 a.m. Laura sees Derek through lobby windows, starting his shift with casual confidence of permanent authority. She carries documents that will teach him otherwise. Laura approaches the brass doors she entered 12 hours ago as an unwanted guest. She returns as owner of everything Derek thinks he controls. The morning receptionist recognizes her from last night. His eyes widened with concern. "Ma'am, about last night. Not all staff—" "Thank you," Laura interrupts gently. "That conversation comes later. Right now, I need Derek Williams." Derek looks up with tired irritation at yesterday's problem returning. His eyes narrow, seeing Laura approach. "Ma'am, I thought we resolved your situation. If you're here causing more trouble—" Laura places one document on the marble counter between them. "Mr. Williams, my name is Laura Owen. As of 6:02 a.m. this morning, I own this hotel." Derek stares at the ownership transfer document as reality crumbles around him. His racist performance 12 hours ago just cost him everything he thought he controlled. The woman he called dangerous for being black in his lobby now holds his professional life in her hands. Derek's face drains of color as the implications hit. The guest he humiliated, the woman he had arrested, the person he dismissed as unworthy. She owns him now. Derek Williams stares at the ownership documents with trembling hands. The official seal of Washington State validates his nightmare. Owen Real Estate. Complete acquisition. Effective immediately. This can't be real," Derek whispers. "You're some random woman trying to scam—" "Mr. Williams," Laura interrupts with ice-cold authority. "You are terminated. Effective immediately." She produces a second document. Termination paperwork citing racial discrimination, violation of corporate policy, and creation of a hostile work environment. Derek's employment with Wellington Group ends after 6 years of enabled bigotry. "You can't fire me," Derek's voice cracks. "I have union protection, seniority rights." "You have nothing," Laura replies calmly. "You committed documented racial discrimination against the owner of this company. Your union contract contains specific termination clauses for discriminatory behavior." The morning receptionist backs away slowly. Other early shift staff emerge from back offices, drawn by Derek's increasingly desperate protests. "Security to reception," Laura speaks into Derek's own radio. "Management transition in progress." 2 security guards arrive within minutes. Laura presents her ownership credentials and termination authorization. The guards recognize legitimate corporate authority when they see it. "Mr. Williams," the senior guard says professionally, "please gather your personal belongings. You're being escorted from the premises." Derek's world collapses in real time. Yesterday, he wielded authority like a weapon against people he considered inferior. Today, he's unemployed, disgraced, facing potential legal action for discrimination. "Please," Derek begs Laura desperately. "I have a mortgage, kids in college. I made a mistake, but I can change." "You made 43 mistakes," Laura corrects him. 43 documented discrimination incidents over 6 years. This wasn't an error in judgment. This was a pattern of racist behavior. She opens her briefcase and retrieves Derek's complete disciplinary file. Complaint after complaint, settlement after settlement. A career built on systematic discrimination enabled by corporate cowardice. Miss Martinez remembers you denying restaurant service because her kind didn't belong in fine dining. Mr. Patterson recalls providing 3 forms of identification for room service, while white guests required none. Should I continue? Derek's face goes ashen. His victims have names, stories, documentation that survived corporate cover-ups. "The company will provide standard severance as required by law," Laura continues. "Your health insurance expires at midnight. Security will escort you to your vehicle." Hotel staff watch Derek's humiliation with mixed emotions. Some show sympathy for a fallen colleague. Others reveal quiet satisfaction at seeing institutional racism finally face consequences. "This is illegal!" Derek shouts as security guides him toward the exit. "Wrongful termination. I'll sue for everything you're worth." Laura's smile contains 3 generations of Owen steel. "Mr. Williams, I'm worth $200 million more today than I was yesterday. Feel free to contact your attorney." Derek disappears through the brass doors he once controlled, carried away by the same security force that enforced his discriminatory policies. Laura turns to the assembled staff with quiet authority that fills the marble lobby. "Good morning. I'm Laura Owen, your new owner. We have significant changes to implement starting immediately." The Wellington Hotel's transformation from discrimination to dignity begins with Derek Williams' empty desk and a promise that racist behavior will never again be tolerated, enabled, or rewarded. Justice served, power transferred, legacy protected. Laura Owen stands in the marble lobby where 12 hours ago she was humiliated. Now, hotel staff gather with nervous attention of employees meeting new ownership under extraordinary circumstances. Derek Williams' termination represents more than individual accountability, Laura begins. We're dismantling institutional racism that poisoned this establishment for years. She retrieves comprehensive documentation from her briefcase, guest complaints, settlement payments, internal memos revealing corporate culture built on systematic discrimination. How many witnessed discriminatory incidents and remained silent? Laura asks directly. How many saw guests of color treated differently and chose not to intervene? Uncomfortable shifting among staff, avoided eye contact, recognition that complicity enabled Derek's behavior for 6 years. I'm not here to punish good people caught in bad systems, Laura continues. But I will ensure this system dies permanently. She presents new operational protocols to the morning supervisor, anti-discrimination policies, mandatory sensitivity training, zero-tolerance enforcement with immediate termination consequences. Effective immediately, any staff engaging in discriminatory behavior faces termination without appeal. Employees witnessing discrimination must report it or face disciplinary action. Laura's phone buzzes. Her legal team reports. 47 former victims willing to testify. Seattle Times requesting an exclusive interview. Schedule for this afternoon, full transparency. She displays Wellington Group's training manuals to assembled staff. Documents that coded racism as security protocols. Management directives targeting minority guests for enhanced verification. Previous management trained you to discriminate, Laura announces. They created policies designed to exclude people who look like me. That training ends today. The front desk manager raises her hand. What about guests who complain about new policies? Any guest objecting to equal dignity can find accommodation elsewhere. Laura responds firmly. We're in hospitality, not discrimination. Corporate restructuring consultants arrive at 9:30 a.m., specialists in transforming discriminatory cultures. They carry new training materials and comprehensive reform protocols. Every employee will complete intensive anti-bias training over 30 days, Laura explains. Guest service protocols will be standardized regardless of demographics. Performance evaluations include equitable treatment metrics. She displays Derek's personnel file for all staff, 6 years of complaints, multiple settlements, behavior that previous management ignored and protected. Derek Williams wasn't an aberration, Laura states. He was a symptom of institutional failure. We're treating the disease. Her phone chimes with Sarah Mitchell's text. Seattle PD opened formal investigation into police partnership, potential federal civil rights violations. Laura addresses staff with final authority. Investigators may contact you regarding past incidents. Cooperation is mandatory, truthfulness required. Anyone covering up previous discrimination faces termination and legal consequences. The lobby falls silent as employees process transformation magnitude. Yesterday's normal becomes today's unacceptable. Corporate culture tolerating racism replaced by accountability demanding equality. The previous Wellington Group enabled 43 documented discrimination incidents, Laura continues, paid millions in settlements rather than addressing root causes, protected managers like Derek Williams while silencing victims. She opens her laptop displaying financial records. This company spent over $2 million on discrimination lawsuits in 3 years, money that could have funded proper training and policy reform. Staff members exchange glances as scope of institutional failure becomes clear. Questions? Laura asks. Silence, the kind accompanying fundamental transformation. Excellent. We begin rebuilding this establishment's reputation on dignity rather than discrimination. Laura retrieves one final document from her briefcase. Federal compliance guidelines for hospitality industry anti-discrimination policies. We will exceed federal standards, not merely meet them, she announces. Wellington Group will become the industry model for inclusive hospitality. The woman denied service 12 hours ago now controls the entire system that enabled her mistreatment. Derek Williams was the first casualty in the war against institutional racism that will reshape Wellington Group completely. Revolution has begun. Justice will be thorough. The Seattle Times reporter arrives at 2:30 p.m. with photographer and digital recording equipment. Laura Owen sits in Wellington's executive conference room where corporate decisions once protected discriminatory policies. Miss Owen, journalist Rebecca Martinez begins, last night you were denied service based on your race. This morning you own the hotel. Tell our readers how this happened. Laura's response carries 3 generations of Owen composure. Systemic racism isn't just morally wrong, it's financially devastating. Wellington Group lost millions protecting discriminatory managers instead of serving all customers with dignity. The photographer captures Laura surrounded by evidence files, discrimination complaints, settlement documents, training materials that coded racism as corporate policy. Derek Williams wasn't acting alone, Laura continues. He was implementing institutional practices that targeted minority guests for exclusion. Management knew and enabled this behavior for years. Rebecca's questions probe deeper. What changes will you implement? Complete cultural transformation. Every employee receives anti-bias training. Guest service protocols become standardized regardless of customer demographics. Zero tolerance for discriminatory behavior with immediate termination consequences. The interview footage will air on evening news across Seattle. Laura's story transforms from personal humiliation to systemic accountability. Her phone buzzes with updates from Sarah Mitchell. Federal investigation expanding. FBI Civil Rights Division reviewing Wellington Group practices under potential hate crime statutes. How many other victims have come forward? Rebecca asks. 47 documented cases over 5 years. African American families denied restaurant service. Latino guests were subjected to enhanced identity verification. Asian business people accused of fraudulent payment methods. Laura presents victim testimonies to the camera. Sandra Martinez denied fine dining access because her kind didn't belong. James Patterson required to provide 3 identification forms for room service. Kim Carter, accused of prostitution for speaking with white male guest. Each case was settled quietly with non-disclosure agreements, Laura explains. Previous management bought silence instead of addressing root causes. The photographer documents Derek Williams' empty office. Nameplates removed, personal belongings cleared. The physical space where discriminatory policies originated is now vacant. Rebecca asks about legal consequences. Will you pursue charges against former management? Criminal prosecution decisions rest with federal authorities. Laura responds carefully. We're providing complete cooperation with ongoing investigations. Her phone displays messages from hospitality industry leaders requesting meetings, competing hotel chains eager to demonstrate their own anti-discrimination policies before federal scrutiny expands. This isn't just about one hotel, Laura tells the camera. This is about industry-wide accountability for systematic exclusion practices. The interview concludes with Laura's vision for Wellington Group's future. We'll become the hospitality industry standard for inclusive service. Every guest is treated with equal dignity regardless of race, ethnicity, or economic background. Evening news broadcasts lead with Laura's story across Pacific Northwest markets. Social media amplifies her message with #Justice at Wellington trending nationally. Her phone rings with congratulations from civil rights organizations. NAACP Seattle chapter requests partnership meeting. Anti-Defamation League offers training program collaboration. By 6 p.m., Laura's transformation from discrimination victim to justice advocate reaches millions of viewers. Derek Williams' racist performance has generated consequences far beyond his own termination. The woman he tried to humiliate now speaks for countless others who faced similar treatment. Her platform ensures that institutional racism in hospitality faces unprecedented scrutiny. Derek's biggest mistake wasn't just discriminating against Laura Owen. It was discriminating against someone with power to demand systematic change. Justice served, message delivered, revolution broadcasted. 6 months later, Laura Owen stands in the same marble lobby where Derek Williams once wielded racist authority. The space looks identical but feels completely transformed. A bronze plaque near the reception desk reads, Wellington Group Anti-Discrimination Commitment. Equal service, dignified treatment, universal respect. Laura's phone shows updates from across her hospitality empire. 0 discrimination complaints in 6 months. Guest satisfaction scores reached historic highs. Employee retention improves dramatically after comprehensive bias training. Derek Williams works retail now, minimum wage, no authority over others. His mortgage fell into foreclosure after legal settlements consumed his savings. The man who thought he controlled access to luxury now struggles to afford basics. Justice delivered through consequences, not vengeance. Laura's assistant approaches with the quarterly report. 47 discrimination victims received full settlements. Federal investigation cleared Wellington Group of ongoing violations. Industry regulations strengthened based on our reforms. The transformation spreads beyond one hotel. Competitor chains implement similar policies under federal pressure. Derek's racist performance triggered industry-wide accountability. Never judge someone by their appearance, Laura tells newly hired staff during orientation. You might be looking at your next boss. The same words that opened her nightmare now conclude her victory. Power isn't about the title on your door. It's about knowing your worth and demanding others recognize it too. Sometimes the best revenge is becoming exactly who you were meant to be. Would you like to subscribe for more stories where justice finds its way? Share your own experiences with discrimination in the comments below.
At Black Voices Uncut, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.